Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.
What does being mayor of Boyce, Louisiana mean to Julius Patrick?
Being mayor of Boyce means that I'm in a position to help people. I'm in a position to do something for a community that needs a lot of things done.
And why doesn't New Orleans have any black judges?
Heretofore, we have not had a majority black electorate. We are approximately 58% of the population. We have not been a majority of the voting population. As of March of 1984, we were 49.5% of the voting population.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Hinton.
And I'm Genevieve Stewart. Today on Folks, we'll travel to Boyce, Louisiana to talk with that town's first black mayor, Julius Patrick. And then we'll travel to New Orleans to speak with attorney J.C. Lawrence of the Louis Martinet Society about the push for black judges.
We'll close today's show with a look at some special athletes who gathered recently at LSU in Baton Rouge. That and more today on Folks.
Everybody says folks, just plain old folks. Everybody's just people.
Today on Folks, we are visiting the Bernie Moore Track Stadium at LSU in Baton Rouge. It is here that a group of special youngsters got together recently to take part in a track and field meet. But first, we're going to travel up Highway 1 to Boyce, Louisiana, to meet that town's first black mayor. Situated on the Red River, about 13 miles west of Alexandria on Highway 1, is the town of Boyce. It is one of the oldest settlements in the western part of Rapides Parish. This is Main Street in Boyce. It is here that you'll find the town's post office and shopping district. And just around the corner is the town hall. The man who presides over the town meetings is Julius Patrick, Boyce's first black mayor, now serving his second term.
Think back to 1978 and tell us what made you decide to run for mayor.
I had been doing a lot of work in the community, community projects in terms of working with the people, nothing official, just development of the community. However, of all the years preceding 1978, there were so many things that were run down. Nobody seemed to want to do anything about it, and so we reached a point. My family, my wife and I, reached a point where we had decided to move rather than live in a place where we had no facilities. Streets were horrible. The sewage system was completely dilapidated. The whole infrastructure was just run down, and nobody wanted to do anything about it. So we decided to move to Alexandria. So my wife said, well, why don't you do something about it? And jokingly, I just said, well, I will. And the last moment, just before closing the qualification, closing of the qualifying date, I came down and qualified just out of more or less impulse. I didn't know what I was going to do or what I could do. I just knew that something had to be done, and I thought I'd give a shot at it.
When he ran for re-election in 1982, Patrick was unopposed.
I think that we had been lucky enough to get a certain amount of things accomplished. I think people were pretty much satisfied with the way things have been going the last 4 years. People have been getting things they had never thought possible, in my estimation. And I say that because when we started building people houses, they were even afraid to even accept it because they thought that the government was going to take their land, and they couldn't understand how you go about getting free houses, free rehabbing, and all this sort of thing. That had never come up to them before. And so then when we finally convinced them that, hey, this is something for a low economic area, it's yours if you qualify for it, and nothing's going to happen. It's something you deserve, So finally we convinced them, and so people have now sort of gotten used to that sort of thing, and they have come to expect a lot of things that heretofore they had not, and we just went on from there and got other things, and everybody seemed to be content, not necessarily content, but satisfied the way things were going.
What does being mayor of Boyce mean to you?
Being mayor of Boyce means that I'm in a position to help people. I'm in a position to do something for a community that needs a lot of things done. Basically, that's what it means to me. It means helping people, and it means improving the society.
Actually, being mayor is only a part-time job for Patrick. During the day, he is the principal at the Reed Avenue School in Alexandria.
Are there any parallels between your job as principal and your job as mayor of Boyce?
It's a very tight rope, because I recognize that I'm in politics, number one, and politics is a very it's a tightrope. It's a tightrope itself. I have to make decisions here that are sometimes not popular. I have to make decisions in the town of Boyce that are sometimes not popular. I do a lot of things thinking about the other situation. Of course, I'm a little bit detached from Boyce down here, which is about 13 miles away, but being in the media sometimes, in the public eye, there's a sort of a spin-off when you do certain things, and people tend to look at that and sort of compare what you're doing in Boyce as to what you're going to be doing at the school. I might make a decision in Boyce, and maybe the faculty might think that, hey, we better watch out. He's going to make the same kind of decision down here. But the parallel is that I look at it as in terms of decision making, and that's you sort of put on the hot seat.
Which role provides you with the greater challenge?
I find politics challenging, period, because I think you put up before the public scrutiny more in politics than you are in the school system. I find that the idea of being able to impact upon students and children here is very rewarding to me when I can do something, when I feel like I'm doing something that's good for the betterment of society of tomorrow. Of course, I think I get a much more immediate reward from the town of Boyce in terms of things I do. I can see the results more quickly than I can in working in the school system.
But being mayor of Boyce, particularly the first black one, has not been without its challenges.
In all candor, when I was elected, I was elected with a 4-member council being white. They had to get used of having a black mayor. Not only the council, but the constituency there in Boyce had to get used to having a black mayor. I had to do a lot of PR work in terms of, I still do. I mean, you don't ever stop doing that. But what I'm saying, I think I had to be exceptional, effective in doing my PR work in the town of Boyce when I first became mayor. Many of the decisions that I made were quite frustrating because I had some opposition in terms of me making a decision, whereas heretofore other people have been making decisions. And it put a lot of pressure upon me. And that's basically That's basically the negative things that I've felt.
And there are some positive sides to the job.
Got a community block grant, which was worth about $1.5 million. We were able to get sewage improvements, water improvements, recreational improvements. All these things sort of fell in place, one right behind the other. We were able to get a high-rise bridge, and everything just sort of fell into place, and that made my job much easier.
How does Patrick know how good of a job he's doing?
I have a point of reference, and my point of reference is what was happening before I became mayor, and that's compared to what's happening now. I also use the, what people say, if they are complaining, are they complaining? Do they feel like they're getting things, their fair share of whatever? And I've been hearing mostly good comments, so that's about the only way I can judge. I sometimes try and sort of step back and take a look at things. There's always room for improvement, and of course I understand this, which I feel like that there are a lot of other things I can do. I feel like there are some things that I can do that I haven't done up to this point. But I certainly have to look. I certainly have a point of reference to look back and then look at what's happening now.
In New Orleans, a lot of people are gearing up for the World's Fair. A group of black lawyers are gearing up, but for something entirely different, and that's this fall's judicial elections. J.C. Lawrence is president of New Orleans' Louis Martinet Society, a professional organization composed of 200 black attorneys. In a city with a 58% majority black population, these New Orleans lawyers are saying they want some black judges on the bench. Currently, the New Orleans judiciary is all white, but 26 of these judges are up for re-election this fall. Lawrence stated why New Orleans has not had more black elected judges in the past.
Genevieve, heretofore we have not had a majority black electorate. We are approximately 58% of the population. We have not been a majority of the voting population. As of March of 1984, we were 49.5% of the voting population. With the presidential election coming up, with the interest in these particular elections, with the interest that we hope to generate in the judicial elections, we think that registration will climb to 51 or 52% of the voting population. We in the 1960s were approximately 32,000 registered voters as opposed to 169,000 white registered voters. This has, in fact, we've grown in numbers over the years until we are now approximately 1/2 of the voting population. We think that these elections will be different from any other elections in the past because of these facts.
The Martinet Society feels that the time is right for electing black judges. Among its 200 members, there is now a large pool of qualified lawyers to serve as candidates, whereas 20 years ago, New Orleans had only 10 black attorneys and 32,000 registered voters.
The entire milieu, the entire environment in this particular city has changed over the last few years. The voting population has grown constantly. We've come from being the swing vote. We were a coalition group at some point in time because we needed to join with other individuals. At this point in time, we're about to be 51% of the electorate. At this point in time, we think that black voters will react differently in that they are 51% of the electorate, that they will act like it, that they will come out and vote, especially if they know the importance of who is judge.
It is speculated that the Martinet Society will endorse 8 or 9 black candidates to oppose some of the 25 white judges who are running for re-election. This is making some judges and politicians quite nervous.
It would appear that many of the judges are nervous at this particular point in time. They like to know who's going to run, if they're going to have opposition, whether they need to raise funds or not. We think past the judges, many of the political figures who probably get their money from the same people, from the same places, are interested in what's going to happen, whether or not their friends will be opposed. Past them, we think the political organizations to whom the judges may possibly do favors from time to time are wondering about whether or not they will have to go to bat for the incumbent judges or not.
In order to determine which judges to endorse or oppose in the elections, the Martinet Society has appointed teams of attorneys as courtroom monitors to assess the incumbent judges' performance on the job. Tell me about the Martinet Society's monitors.
The Martinet monitor system is a system that we intend to put in place within the next 6 weeks. Very basically, we will have individuals, volunteers, sitting in the courtrooms and watching the process. The judge, the sheriffs, the entire system, the district attorney's action or interaction within the system. We're going to gather certain statistics, and basically it's going to help us to decide who we want to support. We work in these courtrooms every day. We are very familiar with the judges. We're very familiar with the system. But we also bring our own prejudices, our own ideas. We come in supporting positions, and we might not be the most objective people in the world at that point in time. So what we want to do is we want to pick up as many objective criteria as we possibly can, and we want to put them in our decision as to who to endorse. And that's what the monitor system is about. We're looking for quality. We intend to endorse black candidates. We intend to endorse white candidates. We're going to look at the judiciary as a whole. We're going to look at who is in fact sensitive to the community that they serve. We're going to look at the ability to carry on this job. It's a very onerous job. It's a hard job. I don't envy anyone who is in fact judge, who's elected to judicial office. It's a thankless job much of the time. We're looking at the quality of the judiciary at this particular point. And we think that questions like how sensitive this individual is to the community he serves, how well he knows the community, his familiarity with the people in this community, these things have to be considered.
What net effect would more black judges have on the black community as a whole and on the black legal community in particular?
At this point in time, if a black man comes to me and says that I have this white lawyer because the judge is white, I don't argue with him at all. There's no argument. I can't refute his logic. We think that the corollary also exists. We think that there's a monetary benefit for black lawyers if they are in fact black judges. Basically, black people, other people will have more confidence in a black lawyer's ability to speak to persuade the judge. I'm not talking about anything that's contra bonos, Morris, or against the public good, against the law. I'm just saying that in explaining the situation to the judge and explaining my client's position, we might be better received. We might be better understood. My client's position would be understood to a greater extent. We think that this is an effect of having black judges on the bench.
Although Mayor Ernest Morial is a past president of the Martinet Society, he has not yet endorsed the group's efforts. Some people allege that Morial owes political favors to politicians who support the white incumbent judges. Do you have the blessing of City Hall?
This time, our understanding is that the mayor is not going to support anyone against an incumbent. This does not mean that he's going to work against the candidates whom we are in fact promoting. We would like to see him come out behind this particular issue and that he was, the first black judge in this community. He was the first legislator. He was the first on a lot of fronts. We'd like to see him pick up this standard and help us tremendously. We think that this may be problematical for the mayor. He runs citywide. His own political life and existence depends upon a much larger electorate than the one we're talking about, though we also believe that he depends primarily on the electorate we're trying to reach. The mayor said on the radio at one point in time that he does not believe that the politics are in place for this kind of drive. We tend to believe that the mayor is the politics, that he has the politics for this drive.
Earl Lindsay, vice president of the Martinet Society, stated the importance of qualifications of any black candidates whom the group would endorse.
What we're urging is that all of the black candidates be very selective about the judicial position and office which they seek. We're asking them not to run on emotion, but to run on good reasoning and good logic. We're asking them to work with us and trying to select the best possible field of candidates for these particular races, and also to spend their money in the most appropriate manner.
We want good candidates. We're prepared to work against black candidates whom we feel are not qualified. Just because an individual is black is not a reason for the Martinet Society to, in fact, endorse his bid for election. We say awful good things about some of the judges at this point in time. Those things are in fact appropriate. They're in fact true. We've quoted them on occasions. We've talked about their youth and exuberance. They're good judges. Just because a man is white does not mean that he's a good judge. Just because a man is black does not mean that he will make a good judge. We merely want to make sure that the community knows that they have the opportunity to elect judges at this particular point in time, judges who are representative of their community. We want them to know the kind of issues that are in fact present in the judicial race. We just want to inform them.
Welcome to the Bernie Moore Track Stadium at LSU in Baton Rouge. It is here that a group of special youngsters got together recently to take part in some Special Olympic Games. The Special Olympic Games are not new to LSU. After all, it was the site of the International Special Olympics last year. And where there were fewer Special Olympians for this event, the fun and enthusiasm seemed unchanged. The regional meet began with a parade of athletes, about some 1,300 of them. Athletes and banners representing some 6 parishes. After the parade and welcoming addresses came the lighting of the torch, a sign that the games are officially underway. After the torch was lit, hundreds of balloons were released into the air. As the fans started taking their seats in the stands, we took time out to talk to State Superintendent of Education Tom Clausen about the importance of Special Olympics.
Well, gosh, they're really important to the youngsters out here. I've worked in special education for the last 3 years. I was head of special education in the State Department when Louis Michaud was in office back in 72 to 76. My sister was involved, Dr. Sally Clausen. She was Sally Brumberger. And we know the feeling and the gratitude that these kids show and appreciation when someone pays them a little special attention, and certainly they need it. And I just saw 3 of my kids rolling in the wheelchairs that I taught last 3 years, and one of them just started crying when they saw me, and you know that's very gratifying, and it gives them an opportunity to show what they can do, receive some special awards, and I'm a big advocate of the Special Olympics.
And Clausen said that more attention needs to be focused on special education.
Well, attention-wise, it depends on what you mean. If you mean more money dollars or do you mean more local support, sure, they can use that all because these are handicapped kids and stuff. But we've always had good support, especially in the Baton Rouge area. I think we need to have more attention focused in some of the other areas and that to show that what these kids can do, because being handicapped and special doesn't mean that they can't participate. And certainly the more participation they get involved with, the more that they are appreciated by others. And I think by bringing this to a focal point like the National Olympics that we had here, I think it was just tremendous for the city and for the state of Louisiana.
The athletes participated in the 50-meter to 400-meter dash.
Take your mark, set.
Others took part in the standing long jump.
Come on, all the way, come on. Good.
Oh yes, let's not forget the frisbee toss.
Super, good.
It was definitely a special day. A special day for the athletes, the huggers, the fans, and the winners. And that included everybody.
Everybody's just folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just people all over the world. For folks to live, folks got to give, folks got to care, folks got to share. The world is small, so very small.
That's our program for this week. Thanks for watching.
We'll be back next week with a look at some gifted and talented children.
Until then, make it a good week.
Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.